Okay, hello everyone. Hello, and welcome to the virtual tour of intentional communities. This is the March virtual tour edition 2024. And thank you for your patience. We had a few technical difficulties earlier, and I'm just seeing now we have a few more things that I need to take care of. So I'm just talking to you here, and I'm also making sure that everything is set up for this event to function well. And yeah, thank you for your patience while we're still figuring out this new StreamYard platform. It's wonderful in one sense because we get to, share with so many people on so many different platforms, but it has its tech glitches every now and then. So just going to make sure that we have everything ready. And let me see here. Okay. There we go. Okay. Updating. Beautiful. All right, so let's get started. My name is Cynthia, and I am the host of this event. I'm calling in from Vermont, where I live myself in a small intentional community called Headwaters Eco Village. And I've been very fortunate in my life to have gotten to travel the world, visiting close to 200 communities, and have really gotten to dedicate my life and my work towards sharing about intentional community living. It's something that I really believe in, that's needed right now, given our many crises of loneliness and environmental crises and housing, just a solution to so many problems. And I feel very grateful to get to host this event every month, where we sit down with 3 different intentional communities and learn about them and really get like this virtual tour, an inside look into what's happening, and also giving you all the chance to ask your questions. So to get things started, I'm going to share my screen and run through some quick introductory slides. So once again, this is the virtual tour of intentional communities. This is our March event, where we have 3 more spiritual communities, many of them on the call. We have the Mariposa Group, Valley of Light, and the Hermitage. And these are all communities located in the United States. And yeah, I'm excited to dive in to learn about them. So a few housekeeping things. This is an event that's being hosted on StreamYard. And that means for everyone who registered to join the event, you have the opportunity to comment directly into the chat box. And I know many of you have already started doing that. It looks very lively in there. So thank you for getting started with using the chat. I'm going to encourage you to keep using the chat. Really, you use this as a networking opportunity to connect with other people who are into intentional community living from around the country, around the world. And please use this as an avenue to ask your questions. Okay, so after each presenter goes and shares about their community, I'm going to ask you all, what are your questions for this community? So preemptively put those in the chat box, and I will field them and ask them of our presenters. You can also use the chat to introduce yourself, as many of you have started to do. So please share where you are calling in from. If you live in an intentional community, let us know which one. And also share, what do you hope to learn today? Why did you take the time to join this event? Please let me know so that I can kind of shape the conversation to make sure that you get your needs met. All right, so go ahead, find the chat box and start putting a few things in there about yourself. And love what I'm seeing already. We have somebody from upstate New York, from California, from Maine. Okay, hello from Maine, not too far away from me. From San Francisco, Florida, New Mexico, Nova Scotia. Okay, we have a Canadian here, Philadelphia, Virginia, Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, somebody from Austria. Wow, it must be very late there. Oh, Iris is here. Hi, Iris. Welcome. Okay, I love seeing that. I love seeing just like how big our global community is. It's awesome. Thank you. All right, so while you're doing that, I'm going to keep going with some announcements. So, as many of you know, we've been doing these virtual tours every month for almost 2 years at this point. And all of the recordings can be found on the YouTube channel of the Foundation for Intentional Community. So go over to YouTube after this event, check out more of those videos and a lot other great video content that the FIC has been putting out. This event in particular, the virtual tour series, is a partnership between FIC, the Foundation for Intentional Community, and an organization that I run called Community Finders, where we offer programs to support people on their path towards community living. So if you don't know already, FIC is just a tremendous resource. It's an organization that's been around for decades and decades with the communities directory and a bookstore and online courses and events like this, which are run on a by donation basis. So please, if you feel inspired to go ahead and donate, ic.org/donate, or maybe next time that you register for one of these events, you just, chip in $5, $10. It really does make a difference because FIC is a grassroots funded nonprofit organization. Then if you're curious more about Community Finders, this event in particular is offered as part of our Community Finders Circle, which is a membership program for people who are looking for communities to join. So we have weekly calls and coaching, and group experts who come in and all these wonderful resources. So you can learn more about that at communityfinders.com. We also recently launched, which I'm super excited about, the Community Founders Circle. Yeah, so this was the Finders Circle for people looking for existing communities to join. And now we have the Founders Circle, which is for people who are looking to start new communities. And we launched actually this week with 50 intentional community founders. So it's very exciting. And yeah, you can learn more about that also on the Community Finders website. Let's see. Yeah, that's all that I have. So I'm excited to dive in here. We might end up running this event a little bit later than planned, just because I know we got a late start. So hopefully you can stay on. Everyone who registered for this event will also get the recording. So no worries if you need to leave early, you will get the recording. And before we get started, I'll just invite you to take a deep breath. Myself included, that felt good. And remove any distractions. If you want to have some water with you for the next hour or so that we'll be together, maybe some way to take notes, either on your computer or with a notebook. Just prepare to give your full attention to our presenters. And we will get started now with the Mariposa group, which is a community in Texas. And we have with us Eric and Wendy. And I'm just really glad that you have chosen to sign up to share. I haven't visited your community, but I've heard about it for a while, and I'm very curious to learn more. So welcome, and I'll hand it over to you to give us the presentation.
Hello. I'm Eric, Eric Best, and this is
Wendy Pressoir.
We are the two co-founders of the new version of the emerging Mariposa Group. Our thrust toward community is a very unusual one. Let me put it that way. Our emphasis, we're an internally focused community about building deep friendships among all the members of the community.
Eric, I'll just pause you for a second. Wendy, we can already see your screen. So if you just want to go and start your presentation, we can see.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, from the beginning.
You can see me fine now, Cynthia?
Just start the presentation. So in that top upper left-hand corner, there you go. Okay, great. We're with you.
Okay.
Right.
So Our thrust toward community is perhaps non-traditional. We're not about something external like saving the environment or advocating for gay, lesbian rights or social equality. All those things are very good. We have a different focus, and that is building extremely in-depth friendships among all the people who are in the community. And by the way, we're anticipating limiting it to a maximum of about 20 people, 20 adults. It's about love and truth, a commitment mutually among all members of love and truth. And I'll make the distinction, love does not mean sex. Sex and love are two different things. This comes about, this thrust, from my experience, both in psychology, science, and spirituality, of merging psychology, science, and spirituality to bring forth, in my opinion, the highest version of community we can create. Again, it's internally focused, it's not externally focused. With that brief intro, let me run through some brass tacks that people are typically interested in. Our location, we're in Northeast Texas, and this is not Texas dry tumbleweed type of stuff. We're only 8 miles away from the intersection of states of Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And we have beautiful, beautiful land. It's green, rolling hills, streams, lakes, ponds, forests, and pastures. It's rural. We're away from a lot of the rest of civilization. One big thing that we have on our land is our community philosophy is about there is no debt to the external society. All the land is paid for, and all the houses on it are paid for, and houses that come into being will come into being through someone's internal financing or perhaps with things within the community, but there will be no debt to the external society, no banks having loans on us or liens or anything like that. The membership process is a process of 6 months to 1 year. There's a membership fee of $4,500. So one of the things that we're emphasizing among people who are interested at this point is that you're financially stable. We've had a number of people come by who want to be able to live here, live with us, but they had no way of supporting themselves. And we find that doesn't work very well. So if we could, let me ask, I know Wendy has been putting up slides. Have you seen slides or are you seeing me?
We see the slides and you also.
Okay. All right, great. Well, then you got to see some of the pictures of the land. All right, wonderful. Background, the merging of psychology, science, and spirituality. There have been two components for me, primary moving components in my life. First off, partially, I was raised in an intentional community, but never knew it by that name. In Louisville, Kentucky, the birthplace of my mother, she had like 8 siblings and grandparents. My grandfather died when I was only 4 years old. My grandmother took over the leadership, if you will. She became the matriarch of this extended family community. She lived on a 2-block dead-end street. She is in the center of it. We had aunts and uncles living on both sides of one cross Hare Street, T Street. And when I was a kid, we could go there. My cousins and I would play roller skate, bicycle, whatever. And we'd never be more than about 30 or 45 seconds away from a house that we could run into where it'd be safe, secure, go to the bathroom, have a cookie, take a nap, whatever. We had people who loved us. And I grew up in that environment of love. My grandmother, the matriarch, was an extraordinarily loving woman, very, very powerful, ironically, in a very soft way. She's a small woman. 5'4", was not physically a big house of power, but the peace, the loving peacefulness she carried within her set a tone which pervaded the entire community. That's always stuck with me. And tell you what, at this point, there's another aspect which I'll get to, but this would be a good point for Wendy to give an introduction to herself.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Like Eric, in retrospect, I can see that community sustained me at crucial times in my life. Girl Scouts and teachers helped me weather difficulties in growing up. College offered the camaraderie of dorm life and introduced me to the Walden II book, which inspired me. Since 2017, I've lived in a community in Florida. It's actually a nudist cooperative north of Tampa. There I found deep friendships, which I cherish, and which together with my sister Heidi and my sons Drew and Brian have sustained me through the death of my husband in 2019. But it's not until I came to the Mariposa group nearly a year ago that I felt I'd found home. I felt drawn to this community near Drew and his family from first reading the listing at ic.org. Through shared interest and a commitment to love and truth, Eric and I have formed a partnership to move this community to a new stage. He has the desire to co-create with me and those who join us to allow each new member to influence the path we take together. I've found it's rare for the founder of any organization to share the power and decision-making, and it speaks to what our community is and will become. Community living is not easy. We've had our trying moments. We've taken advantage of the guidelines for emotionally charged discussions countless times and should have used them countless times more. And yet, through honest sharing and patient listening, we've forged a depth of connection that I've never had with anyone else. We look forward to sharing the bounty of this community with others. And now back to you.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. So back to part of my own personal path. Part of the background for me was my grandmother and the emphasis, the community of love that she created among her children and grandchildren. Extraordinary woman. As I grew up and went into the world, I found the rest of the world was not exactly like that. It was not always warm, friendly, and caring. And what can I say? I've always had an interest in science and math, one hand, and the other hand being what it is to be human. And I had this background experience of loving community. Didn't experience that in the external world. I went forward, going into college and then to grad school, carrying both of those interests. So I had courses in science and math, but also a tremendous number of courses in background psychology, group process, guidance and counseling, and retreats in particular, where I was intrigued and uplifted to find the people in a circle that's designed for sharing with safety. Slowly but surely, the mask would come off, the guards would drop down, and get to know this person in a much more loving, deep context. Some of those friendships from grad school have lasted, as indicative of the depth of the friendship, have lasted 30 years beyond the time in grad school. It's there's so many factors in a way, but in grad school, studying psychology, the group process and so forth, there's one other thing, the other side, the spiritual side. I was not religious growing up, never went that path. In grad school, I learned meditation. And hold on, have something going wrong with my. Anyway, I took meditation and I took to it like a duck takes to water, and it was TM, Transcendental Meditation, and regularly started doing their twice a day meditation. It was relaxing, invigorating, good, and all that. And then after 2.5 years, something extraordinary happened. In a small group meditation in a almost tomb-like structure, the Student Union building, upper floor, after 5 minutes of normal meditation in a 15-minute period, I had what is well known now as the white light experience. It's hard to explain. It was no near death. There was no tunnel. I was meditating one moment, the next moment in that chair in the Student Union building. The next moment I was in the presence of this brilliant white light in front of me, about 15 feet away from me, centered up 2 feet, and it spread throughout everything, everywhere. It was peace beyond peace, love beyond love. Each time I recounted, it's hard not to be affected by it. It was perfect love, loving perfection that extended through all time and space and beyond time and space. It was the source of everything, is the easiest way I can put it. Yeah, I went on for 5 minutes. The guy who was leading the meditation said something. First syllable out of his mouth, I was back in my body, back in the Student Union building, and very irritated. I did not want to be back. If it had been my choice, I would have stayed there with the light. There was a sense of home like I've never had home here on earth. But I was back. It took me 6 months to integrate the experience where I can give you the words I've just shared with you. And the words are inadequate. They're the best I can come up with. My life changed. It had been going in a certain direction. And then it took a 90-degree shift all into a brand new direction, influenced by the light, a desire to get back to it. On the outside world, I went on and got my PhD, went out into industry, and then started consulting. But everything in me was influenced in a quest to get back to that light. And it was entirely consistent with the love I experienced with the light. My grandmother manifested on a more human, smaller scale. These two things influenced me tremendously. And the quest, interest in community had already been there for me. The quest for community was just amplified 100-fold, this experience. And so there's been a process going on ever since then. Trying community, fail in some ways, try something else, give up, try, give up, explore other communities. I visited like 22 different communities in the US, searching for some sense of love and truth being a motivating factor, primary motivating factor, and never found what I was looking for. So in a sense, it's come around to, it's a growing process. There's a period of integration, new experience, integrate it, learn from it, try a new step. And that's where Wendy and I are now. The commitment for membership in the Mariposa group is someone says, yes, something about love and truth and emphasis, indeed a commitment to that among the members appeals with me. It resonates with me. My highest being, my deepest sense of meaning, love and truth touches that, heads in that direction. I want to be there. Those are the type of people we're looking for. There's science now available to what you saw before was a skull cap doing brainwave readings. Here we have by heart math. These are fields of electromagnetic energy which we humans create, which have now been demonstrated that we can pick up each other's nuances, whether we're conscious of it or not. And we find an experiment done. This is a simple one. This guy, Tom Shadyac, influenced the yogurt before. A Japanese scientist, Emoto, had 2 vials of rice, identical, in water, sealed, and went through an experiment, each one of them separately. He'd go to it and say, I hate you, or I love you. And you can see now at day 27, the one on the left, I hate you, is already starting to get infected, fungus, etc., whatever. The one on the right is still purely clear. Our intention, our commitment when we come together to love and truth is like promoting more and more of the white light, I'll dare to say, like the white in the rice, with us, within us, among us, indeed, as we come together on that level, we are doing more and more of, in my opinion, bringing that white light to earth, bringing more love here. People of psychology, M. Scott Peck developed a beautiful model done scientifically about the 4 stages of forming community. We make use of it. I've taught his seminars. I actually sponsored the very first seminar he and his organization did in Los Angeles. I know their training. Psychology has continued to evolve beyond M. Scott Peck. Here's Don Beck's model of spiral dynamics with Ken Wilber's modifications on it. And it's about growth of cultures through very primitive stage to caveman to group power, fantastic, strong Genghis Khan type of leader, to what he calls blue truth and force, which is about usually a religious setting. Somebody says, this is the way. Then we go to orange, about business. Green has been the 1970s sort of hippie revolution, rejecting all the prior stages of evolution and going on to second tier, which is 7 and above. What we're looking for is second tier people. And the key element there is that you essentially have no fear in your life. That means usually you've got your financial stuff already handled. Second one is you've got a mind which is open and inquiring. You have systems thinking. You can look at things and see, yes, it's a complex system. It's not simplistic. It's the stage in which meditation becomes extremely powerful. So let's see.
Wendy and Eric, you're just about at time, and I know we had a question in the chat I want to make sure we're able to get to.
Sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, good to wrap up. If you had a final thought to share, go ahead and share it. And
the biggest thing is that science, in addition, on one hand, and spiritual tradition brings forth a thought, an understanding that we are all connected. And it's amazing for me as a scientist and as a long-term meditator, 33 years, to see this happening, this merging. We're starting to be able to validate what spirituality in the very best sense has been presenting us for a long time.
Beautiful. Great. And I will, I'm going to go ahead and post your website here, or your listing, I should say, in the ic.org directory if people want to learn more. Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. It was really beautiful to hear your stories a bit and like the deeper philosophy. And I just love this focus on love and light. It's really beautiful. And we did have a question here from Iris. Taking note that you don't have any debts in your community, which is awesome. It's really impressive. There was a question. Oops, sorry. How do I do that? Question here about what is the legal form of the land ownership? Are you an association, a foundation, or all members co-owners? You want to speak to that?
Sure. Right now, I legally own the land, part of the constitution of the Mariposa Group. As we get core group members, we're going to be moving to the group as a whole owns the land. And that's to protect it, keep it together. So their safety, security will never be taken away from you.
Great. And you're open to new members now. So if people are curious, they can just reach out to you through the ic.org listing. Is that right?
Absolutely. ic.org and or mariposafound@gmail is a direct email contact with us.
Oh, great. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, great. Well, I might encourage you to go ahead and put that in the chat if you don't mind sharing. And thank you both so much for that lovely presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for all the work you're doing. Truly, blessings to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And thanks for making the extra effort. I know you had to drive to be at a library to have better connection. So I really appreciate that. It came through crystal clear.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, good. All right, and now we will go to Laura. Hello, Laura, with the Valley of Light community. And yeah, I'm excited to have you back. I think you were here once before, but like a long time ago. So I'm curious to get the update. And yeah, excited to hear about your community there in Virginia. So go ahead, Laura, take it away.
Well, thank you. Really happy to be here today. And you're right, Cynthia. A couple years ago, we presented. I'm going to start a slideshow. And tell you more about the Valley of Light.
Okay. There we go.
All right. So the Valley of Light, our tagline is a community of cultural creatives. We are seeking pretty advanced humans. It's interesting that we just heard about spiral dynamics because it's actually one of the models we follow here too. So we'll touch on that. The other piece of our community model is that we have a charity at the heart of it, and it's called the Oracle Institute. And that doesn't mean other members aren't able to start their own charities. In fact, we've had other members who have very powerful nonprofits also emanating from the campus. But for right now, we have set up the Oracle Institute, and it is a 501c3. And it's a think tank. So we study the nexus between religion, politics, civil rights, and human evolution. We put on classes that are exceedingly progressive and pluralistic in nature. Our values are very progressive. Like Eric, we too believe that science and spirituality are merging. And what that's doing is creating a whole new systems level of science that most people are now referring to as holism. And we also believe that this is causing a great paradigm shift that hasn't quite manifested yet, but it's on the horizon. We call this new world the fifth paradigm. The Hopi call it the fifth world. I think Madame Blavatsky called it the fifth root race. We've heard the fifth age of man. So there is this fifth era coming. And again, it hasn't quite been born yet, but we believe it'll be a time of great integration and a time of rebalancing of the divine masculine and feminine. So we run a spirituality school, we have a publishing house as well, and we have a global peace practice. Our philosophy on land and land management is, frankly, from our ancestors, and we believe in the indigenous values. So I just have this quote here from Chief Crowfoot. Our land is more valuable than your money. It will last forever. It will not even perish by the flames of fire. As long as the sun shines and the waters flow, this land will give life to men and animals. We cannot sell the lives of men and animals. Therefore, we cannot sell this land. It was put here by Great Spirit, and we cannot sell it. It does not belong to us. So we do view ourselves as stewards of this land, and we have an amazing parcel. This is a little campus map that I made that shows you where we're located in relationship to the New River, which, by the way, is the oldest river in the Western Hemisphere, and some geologists believe it to be the oldest river in the world. At the center of our campus is the Peace Pentagon. That's our conference and training center. We've got now 7 homes on the campus. We have a guest house. We hope to build very soon a lodge that would accommodate even more guests. And we have building pads still available. So we haven't maxed it out yet. We've gone through all the zoning, dealt with all of that sort of legal yucky stuff. So the density of this parcel is pretty much set, but there's a neighboring farm that we hope to get as well, which would allow expansion. We're very close to the Appalachian Trail. We're also close to the highest peak in Virginia, which is Mount Rogers. It's at 6,000 feet. And this region of Virginia is called the Virginia Highlands because it looks like Scotland, and the Scotch-Irish settled it. So it's just beyond beautiful, beyond pristine. Here's a picture of the Peace Pentagon, and you can see how close it is to the New River. We've got, we call this the Peace Pole Medicine Wheel, and we do a lot of ceremony there. And we like to open and close conferences there oftentimes. So this is our headquarters For Oracle, it's also the community center for the Valley of Light. The building is quite exceptional. It's a passive house building, and passive house is becomes somewhat of a generic term, sort of like pass me a Kleenex, but it's actually a registered building methodology out of Germany. And it exceeds the LEED standard of building, which is the highest standard in the United States. So this building is literally a Mercedes, was run through a computer model in Germany. So in this beyond beautiful setting, we have been building for about a decade. And we really welcome not only new members to the community, but guests. This is one of the memes we run about the Peace Pentagon. It's just sort of a fun footnote that, yes, the reason we're building a Peace Pentagon is because there's this other Pentagon in Northern Virginia that we call the War Pentagon. And because we are a wisdom center that's dedicated to both progressive and pluralistic values, but also primordial and very ancient belief systems that we still believe have great value, this is a place of great learning and again, a training center. And for those of you who know Barbara Marx Hubbard she was a visionary and a futurist who passed away a few years ago, but she came here and when she ran for vice president, she said, we need a peace room as sophisticated as a war room. That was part of her platform when she ran as a Democratic vice president. I think it was back in 1987. And when Barbara came here, she said, well, you're building it. And I went, yeah, I guess somehow I picked up on your meditations. What we're working on right now, I added this slide. This is a very ambitious project. It's called the Founding Mothers Movement. And the goal here is to consolidate and organize and build a coalition of all the women's groups on the planet. And there are thousands, because it's our belief that's the only way the paradigm shift is ever going to manifest. I have this beautiful quote here from Riane Eisler, who is an icon in terms of understanding the masculine feminine dynamic. And she says, partnerism is power with, not power over. It's a new social category that transcends the conventional polarities between right and left, capitalism and communism, religion and secularism, and even masculinism and feminism. We must unlink masculinity from domination and violence, and femininity from subordination and obedience. So this is officially launching actually tomorrow on International Women's Day. And if there's anyone listening who, in addition to seeking community, is interested in this project, which is, again, exceedingly ambitious, please contact me. We also have a church called Oracle Temple, and it's not a normal church. There's no dogma. What we do at our church is basically recognize that everything has a spiritual aspect. And again, we believe that humanity is entering this fifth spiritual paradigm. Most people now, well, I shouldn't say most, many people now, if you ask them what is God, you'll no longer hear it's a guy in the sky. What you're going to hear is it's energy, it's unity, it's consciousness, and it's truth, love, and light, which is one of our mottos. I have in parentheses that that's the law of mentalism and hermeticism, because hermeticism is one of those ancient paths that we feel is still valid. We also do worship the masculine and feminine principles inherent in the cosmos. We believe in the magic of sacred unity, gender equality, and of course, female bodily autonomy, which is one reason why we're launching the Founding Mothers Movement, since we've lost about 50 years of civil rights here if you're female and you live in America. In Hermeticism, that's called the law of gender. We also endorse nature mysticism as a valid path to seeking unity with nature and with the divine. And that is called the law of rhythm and correspondence in Hermeticism. And then, of course, we do encourage everyone to practice mindfulness, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And in Hermeticism, that would lead to elevated karma. And those are the laws of cause and effect, polarity, and vibration. Here's some more pictures of the campus. The picture at the top is a women's retreat we did. I think this is from 2 years ago, and we had a friggin' blast. The one on the bottom left, that's a Damanhur retreat where you go into prior lives, and on the last day of the retreat, you dress up, and we have a whole room full of fun costumes. And then that's us on the right doing a fire. We have 4 fire pits on the property. This is our big one where we can have about, I don't know, we could probably have about 100 people around this big fire pit. Here's some more pictures of our campus. We've built, well, let me just say this. Everything outdoor is dedicated to our ancestors. The Peace Pentagon is about the future, but all of the outdoor sacred space is indigenous in nature. So on the top left, that's a picture of the Turtle Island Labyrinth. And it's a really fun, it took us years to build it, quite frankly, because we kept perfecting it, and it's awesome. On the right is the Kogi Kiva. The Kogi people from Colombia came to our campus as part of a United Nations tour in 2018, and we built that Kiva in their honor. And then I think we already saw a picture of the medicine wheel, which we use for many, many occasions. Here's some more pictures. We've got a chicken yard. We've got goats. On the top right, that's us installing signs for our roads. We have a few roads in the community. And then that's Mimi. That actually happens to be my mom. And she loves working in our garden, which, as you can see, overlooks the New River. We ask people when they come to pick one of 5 paths. And this is so that they can follow their passion and their hobbies. So if you're interested in doing, work in the garden and working with the animals, we call that the path of the native. If you want to help keep the websites up and support us with technology, and also we put the healing arts in this one, that's the path of the scientist. The path of the artisan includes, music, art, composition, and also architecture. So our infrastructure kind of falls in the path of the artisan. And then the path of peacemaker is really our outward brand that we associate mostly with the Peace Pentagon, and that's about social activism. We absolutely believe in interacting with the greater world, not just living in a bubble. Though we love our bubble of sanity here, we feel it's important to help shift the paradigm. And then the last path is the path of the oracle, which is for people who really want to focus in on their spirituality. This is a picture of the farm that's right beside us. I just wanted to point this out. So here's our current campus, which we would then treat as the welcome center. And assuming we can get this farm, we've just sort of mapped out what we would do with it. And that's where the community proper would be. And there's a picture of Barbara Marx Hubbard. So our goal is to be a full spectrum community. If you've heard of the Federation of Damanhur in Italy, that is our Muse community. We have actually a strong relationship with Damanhur, and ambassadors from there come here every year, except during the COVID years. So we've learned a lot from how Damanhur was able to manifest their amazing, amazing community. We have our founding documents in place. We've got a constitution, bylaws. We have a formal acceptance process. We have conflict mediation. We do new member mentoring. And when someone comes here, we do trainings in revolutionary agreements, spiral dynamics, and integral theory. We have over $3 million invested in the community, and we are debt-free. And our short motto is truth, love, and light, which sounds a lot like what Eric was talking about. And basically, we are committed to the principles of peace and these universal principles. So we hope you will come and visit. And if you have questions, I would love to take some. And I will stop share.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laura. That was wonderful. Yeah, very, very similar, or some overlaps. Yeah, with the
overlap. Not actually very similar, though. We are not about insulating ourselves. We are out in the world. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. We try to theme the communities, to have. So I like when that works out.
Some overlap for sure.
Some overlap. Okay, great. Fantastic. So we got a lot of questions, more questions than we'll have time to answer verbally. So anything we don't answer, I'll just direct you to write into the chat to respond to everyone. Let's see. Well, I guess what to start with. Let's start with a question, just something basic. What is the age range of your members or who you hope to have as members? Are you welcoming families, singles, couples, older, younger?
All ages are more than welcome. And I'll just add that we've kept membership dues light purposely so that young people can be here and contribute. We also have some positions that provide, like a groundskeeper position gets free housing here because of our expectation that they will do more community service. We ask for a minimum of 5 hours a week of service on the land. But yes, multi-generational for sure.
Okay, great. And let's see. Oh, I really like this question from Jamila. Can you share your greatest surprise or challenge in the community building process?
Well,
Just
I don't know
through all of them. I'm
what
sure.
was the story. First month, bought the property. Within a month, they were going to build a prison across the New River, condemn this land, and build a bridge.
Oh, no.
So you want to talk about tuning in. I am a lawyer, and I hadn't even moved here yet. So anyway, so began a 2-year legal nightmare. We were able to get the prison to forget about being on the New River. It was a dirty pork bill project. It was a Halliburton subsidiary, but it gets better. So after that 2-year battle, I go to file the permit for the Peace Pentagon, and the county wouldn't give me the permit. It was payback for all the trouble I'd caused with the prison. So began the second lawsuit against the county and the loss of another 2 years. So in case people haven't caught on yet, I am stubborn as the day is long, and I wasn't giving up this vortex of light. So after 4 years of litigation, we finally broke ground on projects around 2012.
Wow. Oh my goodness. What an epic struggle. Wow. Well, congratulations.
It's not unusual. It's not unusual at all. Like Satchidananda first wanted to do Yogaville in California, and he ran into trouble. This is not unusual. So anyone who wants to start a community, I hope you've got a lawyer on tap if you're not a lawyer, and I hope you got an accountant on tap, because it's not easy to start a community. It is not easy.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. Yeah. Sobering words and true. And yeah, I'm glad that you were able to hang in there and make it happen, persevere. Great. Well, and this is a good follow-up question. There's a question here about your spiritual practice as a community, because it sounds like that's a solid base. What methods do you experience as effective use for conflicts, maybe within the community, but also in holding your spirituality when dealing with outside forces as well?
So sort of two questions there. In terms of spirituality, we've got no religion that gets practiced here. In fact, that's what is unique about what we call the fifth paradigm, is that there is no unifying theosophy on the horizon quite yet, right? So we have a variety of belief systems here on campus, but none of which are fundamentalists. That would definitely not be a good fit here. And then in terms of conflict resolution, we have had, you're going to hit conflict. It's unavoidable as we learn to live together, once again. And, in family systems, it's a different dynamic. You can be a brat, right? You can act out in your family of origin. So yeah, we have some really good protocols in place just for basic ground rules. And then it's being mature enough to deeply listen and sit your ass in the chair long enough to figure out how to solve a conflict. And I don't think I can't think of one problem we haven't been able to solve. Now, that doesn't mean people haven't left, but it means that we're vetting well enough that the people who come here are really pretty ripe for community and mature humans.
Mm-hmm. Great. And if somebody is interested to learn more, what's the best way to get in touch with you or get in touch with your organization?
Yeah, we've got the community on the Peace Pentagon website. So if you go to peacepentagon.net, there's also a link to it from the Oracle Institute website. So we've got one that's a little more spiritual, so that's oracleinstitute.org. And then we've got one that's a little more activist vibe, and that's peacepentagon.net. And I'll put them in the chat.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Yeah, after you put that in the chat too, there were a variety of other questions. If you just kind of scroll up in the chat, and if you wouldn't mind just the ones that you see putting in a quick response to, that would be much appreciated. And yeah, thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for your presentation and everything that you're doing there. It's very inspiring. Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Yeah. Great. Okay. And now we have Jonas with us. Hello, Jonas.
Yeah.
And yeah, great that you're here. I can't wait to learn about the Hermitage. So I'll just invite you, and you're over in Pennsylvania. So we've really Texas, we had Virginia, Pennsylvania. I love just the geographical diversity. And you also have something of a spiritual community. So I'll invite you to go ahead and share your screen. So
Sure.
that's the present button.
Let's see what we can do here.
Yeah.
Let's see if that works.
All right, good. We can see it. And then we'll start your presentation.
I can't see it, so I'm not sure where we are. Oh, there we go. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can see everything that you're seeing. Yep. And then you'll start the presentation.
I'm sorry, what?
Go into present mode. So that's the on the screen that you're on currently. And that, yeah, there you go. You got it.
Oh, how's that?
Click there. Yes. Perfect.
Is that okay? Okay. All right. All right. Good. Good. Hello, I'm Johannes Zinzendorf, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here today to speak briefly about the Hermitage, a harmonious spiritual community in central Pennsylvania. Our goal is to live in harmony and union with the earth and spirit, which to us are two sides of the same coin. Recognizing this unity and actively, purposefully living within it forms the basis for our spirituality and our communal life. One has to be a harmonist to live here at the Hermitage, but the odd thing is that one doesn't have to live at the Hermitage to be a harmonist. And while we consider the Hermitage to be a kind of mothership, one can be a harmonist anywhere in the world, and without going to any school or undergoing any training or certification program. There's no diploma, there's no secret decoder ring at the end of it, no secret handshake. Being a harmonist means two things: a commitment to living a life in the spirit and a commitment to serving the earth. Simply put, as harmonists, we are one in the spirit, and the earth is our family. Beyond that, the spirit unfolds in infinite diversity and uniquely through each of us. For example, Brother Ephraim in his rituals expresses his affinity for Celtic spirituality, while I in mine reflect my affinity for African animism and Hinduism, particularly Shiva and Kali. And we share a mutual devotion to the old Egyptian gods of animals and birds like Horus, Bastet, and Anubis, because they are so embedded in nature. And that's why our high holy days are the solstices and equinoxes, as well as the four midpoints between them. We view the earth, there we go. Oh, oh no, here we go. Okay. We view the earth as a tree, firmly rooted in the Spirit. With each of us, every living thing as leaves on the tree, each one unique, each part of the tree. So all the leaves are connected and attached to the core. The leaves come and go, but the tree remains. The harmonious emblem of the planet is a flower. Beautiful, fragile, needing care, nurturing, and maintenance. And that's how we serve the Spirit. And being harmonious, we naturally have a hymn about that. You and I are brought into being, we are one. So to bring vision and healing, we are one. The earth sees itself through us, transforming in harmony. We are one. We are one. Now, our role model for this union of earth, body, and spirit is this queer young man, Christian Renatus von Zinzendorf, who lived in community in Germany in the mid-18th century before dying at the age of 25. We were so inspired and actually set aflame by what he achieved there that we wanted to reestablish that community in Pennsylvania by living the life of those early brothers and sisters. It was a bleak, a very bleak and cold Thanksgiving weekend in 1988 when we moved to the land, which had only a barn, as we knew we could either afford a house and no land or a land and no house. So the choice was simple. We lived here in the barn. We actually cut these 2 windows in the barn. And in the winter, when it got too cold to live in the vastness of the barn, we moved the little camper trailer into the barn and lived in that. We actually found this stable in one part of the valley, and inside the stable was a log cabin at the other end. And we took the whole thing apart, moved the cabin up here in parts, and we rebuilt it. Here we are going up with our family. This is about 1989. And as you can see, we had goats and sheep and cows. They were our family. And eventually we got the corn crib removed. But this is how we started out. And it was this house. Wait. Okay. This is a little out of place, but this was actually our first structure, the outhouse, because they don't call it a necessary for nothing. We really needed to have this. So we had some spare logs and we built the outhouse. And this is the way things looked about 1991. Our goal was to build a community for the brothers that we knew were coming. So we had basically just drove around the valley and looked for old abandoned log houses and timber frame structures that we could move and put on the property. You see, we were using the old German name there, and you can't see it too well, but there's a bell with a little rope, and the rope went over a stone wall near the road, and people could stop and ring the bell for brothers. And one visitor told us he had seen that at a monastery in Germany. We feel so good about that. This is the interior of the first house. Every community in our tradition has a first house, and we heated with wood. There were no utilities, right? There was no electricity. There was nothing, no running water. The old joke, of course, is unless you run out and get it. We had to go across the road to a spring and bring the water back by bucketfuls. We lighted with candles and grease lamps or fat lamps. So it was very, very primitive. In order to get out the word, we decided we needed to print a newsletter and brochures. And so we found some hand press printing presses that used foot treadles, because again, we had no electricity. And if you don't have a print shop, you need a building. So we found an old pig house, and we had a farmer friend bat the pig house onto the property. And here was Brother Zephram as we were getting ready. He's a stone mason, so he built the stone foundation, and then we put new boards on it. This was our print shop. We printed things like our brochures. There's Christian again. And this is a little, I need to explain this. We did a number of interviews, and this is for a magazine, Law and Out of Business, called 10%. But they wanted us in full regalia. So we showed them, what our monastic life looked like. We didn't really dress like this every day because naturally you're going to get robes and things ripped. So we ended up just wearing blue jeans. But there's our founder again. And that's the way we looked for this photograph that was in a periodical. By about 1995, the Hermitage looked like this. The building with the metal air vent on the top is our blacksmith shop. There's also a pottery. There's a woodworking shop. There's a well sweep where we got water from our well. And you can see, and as well as cabins for visitors. Our animals are always very important to us. This is Brother Zephram with one of our newborn, actually with the very first animal born on the property was this beautiful goat kid named Charlie. And we had other animals, as you can see. Oh, here we go. Sheep, we had lots of sheep. We raised flats for linen, and we raised the sheep for wool. There was a spinning and weaving studio. This is our first calf born on the property. There's the proud mother. And we used oxen for plowing like our early brothers did. So we started raising our own team, but we raised hogs for a while. This was Ethel. She was a sweetie. Oh my word, she was a sweetie. 500 pounds of sweetness. Here we are plowing. This is before YouTube videos. I'm sure now there are YouTube videos for how to train an ox team, but we actually got a book and trained our team. And here we are plowing for our flats. We use the ox team for our hay. So here we are bringing in hay. Here I am, Star and Bright. The closest one is Bright from Little Farmer Boy. The ox team and Little Farmer Boy with Star and Bright. A bunch of kelbas. Pennsylvania Dutch word for calf is kelba. So there you go. We were building up on the hill. We were building a combination library, spinning, weaving studio, and pottery and print shop. All those were later relegated to other buildings. There's also a bake oven and a smokehouse. And you can see how barren it was. It was just a barren hillside. It's changed so much since then. Here's Brother Zephram making apple butter and being assisted by calves. Here I am shredding cabbage. One of our, for one Halloween, some kids threw a bunch of cabbages over the wall. I don't know why, but they threw cabbages over the wall. So we decided, well, if you have cabbages, make sauerkraut. So that's what we're doing there. Here I am stomping the sauerkraut and then adding salt to it, and then just let it bubble and squeak for a while. There's one of our chickens. Let's see. We moved a bake oven, 200-year-old bake oven from the neighboring farm. Here is Zephram rebuilding the dome of the bake oven. I ended up, to make money, I was baking in the oven. It was wood-fired. And I would take the baked goods, a typical Pennsylvania Dutch sourdough bread, shoe fly pie, ginger snaps, down to a farmer's market every week and sell them. There's the bake oven on the left, the smokehouse on the right, both removed from the neighboring farm. We gave workshops in baking and open hearth cooking. Here I am demonstrating baking at a 200-year-old house down in Lebanon County. I mentioned flask earlier. Here is Brother Zephram pulling the flask. It was very weedy, but we still got a decent crop out of it. Here he is spinning on, actually it's a Canadian wool wheel, but he's spinning a specific type of flask called tow fiber, making a line from that. And we demonstrated flasks. We did a lot of demonstrations for schools, historic sites, folk festivals, things like that. We had school shows at the Hermitage. we had the kids shear the sheep. This is a merino sheep, by the way. And we had them make candles. We had them make ginger snaps. It was a lot of fun as they learned how their own ancestors was. This is an isolated valley, farmed and settled in the 1790s by Pennsylvania Germans. And they're all still here in the valley, the ones who stayed, the farmers who stayed. And these are all their descendants. We had artist residencies. This was a potter who worked here for a while. We held retreats. Here was a men's gathering that we stayed, where they stayed. We had one of our prospective members build a teepee for himself. This was very seasonal. He didn't live there during the winter. And here we were about 1999 or so with our geese. It's one of our Muscovy ducks. What we learned, we had members come and go, and we had to expand the definition of family. Well, that's 15 minutes, so I've been talking long enough. So we're almost done. Oh, you can just see more members of our family, not just humans, but animals, even the land itself. Zippy. We have a heritage center in the barn for the locals. Zephram is now painting. This is a picture of his first dog. And we had a later article in the New York Times about it. They built a commune, but no one came. It's a sad story, but true. We had videos made about us. This is our website. This is our contact information. Write fast. So I think that's about it. I mean, I'm looking through my notes here. Oh, we'll be open again in good weather from June through October. So anyone who wants to visit, contact us, and we'll be glad to have you visit. Eventually, we'll be looking for someone who can curate, be a collections manager, buildings maintenance, and also sort of a spiritual advocate. Go online and do all this sort of what do they call it? Where you do Facebook and things like that, social media, because we don't do that. Oh, and here we are singing at the Melodeon. Okay, and that's it.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Johannes. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Wow, that was amazing just to see the development of your community and everything you've built there, and the traditions, the sauerkraut making and the working with the animals. That was really special to see. Seems like you've created a beautiful, beautiful space there. Wow.
Great, thank you. I hope I don't get disconnected. If I do, I'll get back on.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not technologically very savvy here, so we'll see.
Yeah, good so far. All good so
Okay.
far. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Well, there are a few questions, so we'll just do a few questions, and then we'll do a question for everyone, all of our presenters, to wrap up. Here's a really nice question here. Oh no, spoke too soon, Johannes. Oops. Oh well. Bummer. We'll see if he joins back on. I'll share the question here from Iris because it's really nice. So impressive how you live this pure, humble, traditional farm life. How do you bridge traditional and modern life? Seems you now have internet. Ha ha ha. So I like that. Yeah, and I really saw that in the presentation, lifting up the old traditions, but also engaging in modern life. So I'm not sure if Jonas will be able to join us back. I'll keep checking to see if they're able to. But yeah, I think we can just begin to wind things down and wrap up today's event. Thank you, everyone, for all of your good questions. And I see that there's continuing to be questions coming in the chat and really good comments. So just like encourage that to continue. And yeah, and we'll be back, of course, again next month in April on the first Thursday of each month, same time, same place. Hopefully, we'll start and finish more on time. So thanks again for your patience with that at the beginning. And yeah, and so to wrap up, I noticed that a lot of the questions that we had to do with membership. And I think for both of your communities, for the Mariposa group and for Valley of Light, communities that have a strong mission and intentionality, I could see how membership and membership processes could be interesting to navigate. And I know both of you have some clear, step 1, step 2, step 3, and you've outlaid that in the chat messages. That could be good to repeat verbally. But I'm also wondering if you could speak to, what is that dance like between you and a prospective member of navigating what are our shared values, what are our intentions, is it a mutual fit, just anything you want to speak to that could be helpful for a community founder who's designing their membership process, and also somebody who is maybe thinking of joining your community or a community like yours. What could be helpful for them to know? Whoever wants to start can go ahead and share.
Well, I'll share that I forgot to write this in the chat box. There actually is 4 stages to ours. We ask people to fill out, it's a short questionnaire, and then we Zoom. And I forgot to write that. And we started some of this during COVID and have found it really helps because sometimes people want to visit from California, right? And we're in Virginia. And it's a shame if someone gets on an airplane and spends all that money and comes here when a Zoom might have shown that it's not going to be a good fit. So we have a questionnaire we ask people to fill out. Then we Zoom. Then we do a visit. And then they can start a trial membership here. That's our process.
Okay, great. Anything you want to add to that, Laura, around when you're in that conversation with somebody, maybe that initial Zoom meeting, what thoughts and feelings are you having as you're engaging with somebody, and how do you do that process? What does that look like?
Well, it looks like we have categories of questions. But no, we take it very seriously, the vetting. We once found out, because we hadn't been doing criminal background checks. We had someone here who was a rapist, and we found that out after the fact. So we stepped up the vetting, and it's not an uncomfortable process, but we do during the Zoom, we're gonna ask about your family of origin, we're gonna ask about your health, we're gonna ask about emotional and psychological health as well, because some people can fake it pretty darn well for a while, and we've had that happen. We're going to ask about financial soundness. We're going to ask about, your partners, if you're coming with a spouse, a partner, pets. So now we do ask about a criminal background. Not that, we haven't all been arrested. I know I have. But just to see if people are forthcoming. And then at the end, we will say, do you care if we run a criminal background check? Which we may or may not do. So we've learned the hard way to treat the vetting process in a very serious manner, which we didn't do at first. We didn't do that at first. We'd let anybody come. We didn't let anybody move here. And it was 9 times out of 10 a disaster. Mm-hmm. Because we have very definite objectives for this community. It's not a normal community because we really are trying to build a community of activists.
Yeah.
And some people, in fact, most people, when they're looking for a community, they're looking for a place to get away from the outer world. Whereas here, even though, again, we like to maintain this bubble of sanity at Oracle campus and in the Valley of Light, our real mission is to help shift the paradigm. So we are interacting with the world. And many people are looking for an escape. That's another category of people who are seeking community. They can't actually handle the real world or the outer world, and they're looking for an escape. And that's definitely not a good fit for us.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. And if somebody just wanted to come to visit, they weren't interested in membership, but just wanted to come and visit and learn, is that something you're open to?
Yes, we've got a beautiful guest house. It's right on the New River. It's on Airbnb. So we Airbnb a couple. We got brand new cabins in the campground. We do sabbaticals. People can come here and take a month sabbatical and interact with the members of the community, but just be watching it from a distance. So yeah, there are other options for visiting and experiencing this property and the people.
Nice. Beautiful. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Wendy and Eric, I'll ask you to unmute and share your thoughts on membership and a bit about your process at the Mariposa Group.
Sure, glad to. I think listening to Laura talk, we've had a variety of people come by, and sometimes it's brilliant, and sometimes it's great for 2 or 3 visits, and then all of a sudden a dark cloud arises in their world, which they hadn't talked about before. But anyway, for right now, we start off with a questionnaire also, ask them to fill that out, send it in, and then we'll do a Zoom as a next step, very similar to Laura's. And after that, if that goes, Zoom 2 or 3 times, and then arrange a visit. And if they're close by, we can do a visit fairly quick up. If they're in California and we're 800, 900 miles away or more, then we have to schedule a time. It is a process, again, however it comes about, long distance or next door, of going deeper and deeper into conversation each time, developing trust among us. And that field of trust is where the love and truth becomes easier and easier and easier, manifests more.
I want to just add, having recently been through the process, that the application is a little challenging in the sense of asking you to be very reflective. And so the answers that people give are a really good indication of where they are in terms of intelligence, in terms of maturity, in terms of spirituality, in terms of openness. Mm-hmm. And so that application gives us a lot to follow up on. And we're really happy with that because it just elicits a lot more information than your typical job interview or others where people have canned responses. So it's been good for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting points I want to make, contrasting with Laura and the Valley of Light, we are an internally focused community developing deep, deep, loving relationships. And what the idea is, an experience which Bill Kalth presented his community out in Oregon, beautiful community, is that one of, with deep, deep love, a person's cup starts to be filled up. And where it may be half empty or only 2/3 full, with deep, deep love, it gets fuller and fuller. And at the point where it overspills, at that point, usually their own natural inclination is to make a contribution to the world. Instead of being in deficit, they are now overflowing. And without any effort, a natural overflow, what can I do to help the world, comes about. So we're both internally focused to begin with, but certainly supportive of the emerging, fuller, wider, higher being within each member.
I love that. Thank you. Yes, that's a great note to conclude on. May all our cups be full and overflowing so that we can be of service in the wider world. Yes, I love that. Ah, beautiful. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Wendy and Eric and Johannes, for your sharing and being here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. Thank you for all the work that you're doing in your communities. Deeply appreciated.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your work too. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, take care, everyone.
Peace,
Bye.
love, and truth.
Bye, Laura. Take care.
Hey, good to see you again. Bye.
All right, blessings.